Let's see. BBC reports President-elect Donald Trump has confirmed on a social media network that he plans to use the U.S. military to carry out a mass deportation of undocumented migrants. On Monday, he posted "True" in response to a conservative commentator who wrote that Trump would declare a national emergency and use military assets to lead a mass deportation program. At campaign events, Trump repeatedly pledged to mobilize the National Guard to assist Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the federal agency tasked with carrying out deportations.
Matt Walsh dives headfirst into mass deportation and whether the U.S. military should play a role in enforcing immigration laws. Expect sharp commentary, strong convictions, and yes, a hefty dose of Walsh's signature "call it like I see it" approach. Throughout this segment, Walsh lays into his detractors, tears apart their arguments, unapologetically makes his case for Trump's plan to use the National Guard for deportations. Let's see if Walsh holds his ground or just stirs the pot.
So that's the plan. He plans to mobilize the National Guard to help with the deportations. Sounds like a great idea to me. Great use of the National Guard. And the left, of course, is not happy about it. In fact, one commentator on CNN is so unhappy that she pledged to physically prevent U.S. troops from carrying out these orders. Listen to this.
Promise you with every fiber of my being, because I'll probably be one of those people, that if anybody comes to these people and tries to drag them out by force.
Here we go. Classic emotional overreach. A CNN commentator pledging to physically block deportations? That's not activism. That's fantasy cosplay. Notice how the entire argument is steeped in "think of the women and the children." Meanwhile, no acknowledgement of criminal elements among migrants. Walsh is right to point out the double standard. The left suddenly cares about protecting families, but won't bat an eye when it comes to issues like abortion or crime.
There will be protests of people like me, American citizens, who are going to stand there and do everything possible to prevent these women and children, which is all who these people are.
How about the criminals?
From being,
how about the terrorists? How about the?
But how do you
Stop.
how do you sort through?
That's the
Stop. I'm sorry. I live next to these people. I can tell you they are women and they are children.
Pure projection masquerading as fact. This line is so packed with assumptions, it could qualify as a BuzzFeed quiz. How do you sort through? That's kind of the point of immigration enforcement, to sort through legal and illegal entrants. Pretending everyone crossing the border is some helpless saint? That's emotional manipulation, plain and simple. Walsh isn't winning any sympathy points here, but he's laser focused on exposing the fallacies.
Are there terrorists among them? I don't know, but I can tell you that there. But I can tell you, but let me tell. Okay, but what I'm telling you right now, practically speaking, is that there will be people, American citizens, who will prevent these little kids from being dragged out of these shelters. There are. And what's going to happen to these people? What is going to happen to the military when the military opens fire on us?
No one's us. You see?
Chuck, we're way down a rabbit hole here.
Okay, so that's Julie, her name, or whatever her last name was, CNN commentator, talking about the women and children. They're women and children. Are there some terrorists? I don't know, but there are also women and children. And just, ignoring the fact that, pretending that all of the huddled masses that are coming to America, it's nothing but women and children, which, by the way, as a Democrat, it's always funny when Democrats still try to use that line. Think of the women and children. Okay, you don't know what a woman is and you think children should die in the womb.
Walsh lands a solid hit here. You can't play the women and children card when your broader ideological stance undermines the very concepts you're invoking. It's the kind of cuts deep, though it risks alienating moderate viewers who might not appreciate the bluntness. Still, he's not wrong. Double standards are glaring here.
So you're not really qualified to be using the women and children card here. But regardless, she says that she's going to stand in front of the military. So first of all, Julie, you ain't doing okay. So yeah, you're not going to throw yourself in front of a tank. Not that Trump's going to use tanks to deport immigrants. I'd be fine if he did, but he's not going to. You're not doing that. You're going to be on TV crying about it. That's what you're going to do. That's all you're going to do. That's the only thing you're going to do. And also, by the way, not to get into semantics here, but We keep hearing about it. We heard it from Julie there that the illegal immigrants are going to be dragged. You're going to drag these people. You're going to drag them out of their shelters and their homes.
Let's get real. No one's dragging anyone unless they resist. Walsh is spot on calling this out as fear-mongering. Deportations are not a Hollywood action movie. The system relies on processes, not chaos. But Walsh's flippant tone here could be seen as dismissive, even if his logic is sound. The real drama here is coming from the media narrative, not from what's likely to happen.
Well, in the vast majority of cases, they're not going to be dragged. So why would they be dragged? That's wasted effort. No, they're going to walk. They're going to be escorted into vans, and they're going to be taken to planes or taken to buses and transported to their home countries. That's it. I mean, in the vast majority of cases, it's going to be a very orderly thing. There's no reason why anyone would be dragged. They don't need to be dragged. You know, the authorities are going to show up and they're going to say, okay, time to go. Taking you back to your home. You don't belong here. You're not here legally. And that's it. If they're dragged, it's only because they're refusing to leave. And then in that case, you have no choice but to drag them. What are you supposed to do? When you go to enforce your immigration laws, you say, well, we got to take you back to your home. You're not supposed to be here. If they say, no, I'm not leaving. What are we supposed to say? Well, okay, well, if you don't want to, then never mind. Oh, well, if you don't want to. Oh, you'd rather not? You'd rather not be deported? Well, okay then. Oh, well, yeah, in that case, you do have to drag them. But I think that that it won't come to that in most cases. I actually think that in most cases, the scene will not be nearly as dramatic as the CNN commentators are predicting and claiming. Mass deportations in practice will actually be, for the most part, pretty boring. You know, it's not going to be this big dramatic scene. There's no reason why it needs to be. And if it does become that, it's going to be the fault of the illegal immigrants who are not cooperating when a country that they have illegally entered tries to simply enforce its own laws. Will there be mass protests against these deportations, as is also being predicted? We'll see, but I have to say I doubt that as well. Sure, there will be protests, and we know the left is very good at ginning up protests on fraudulent grounds. They're very good at, using hoaxes and using out of context things to gin up protests. They've done that many, many times. They're going to be looking for their kind of George Floyd of illegal immigrants.
Bold claim. Walsh accuses the left of actively seeking a tragedy to weaponize. It's a provocative take, possibly true, but inflammatory as hell. This kind of framing works wonders for keeping his audience engaged, but it risks oversimplifying complex social dynamics. Is he playing to his base? Absolutely. Is he making a point worth considering? Maybe.
They're going to be looking for an illegal immigrant George Floyd moment. That's what they're praying for. They are fantasizing about it right now. They would love for that to happen. So they'll be looking for that. Maybe they'll get it, and maybe if it doesn't happen, they'll pretend. So there will be protests. We also know the left good at not only ginning up protests, but also they know how to pay for them. If they can't get people to protest, you can always pay to have people come out and protest. So they'll do all that. But I don't think that there will be a kind of popular uprising against deportations. I think that most Americans will be perfectly fine with it, because most Americans have their own problems. You got your own family to take care of. These are people that are not supposed to be in the country anyway. The law is being enforced in a fair and orderly way. And that's just not the kind of thing that's going to infuriate most Americans. Why would it? But I'm going to go out and protest because because a basic law that every country has and every country enforces, that law is being enforced. We're supposed to suspend our laws, abolish our national sovereignty for the sake of these people. Why would we do that? The law is not suspended for me. Okay, this is what most Americans are going to say to themselves. What? They're not. No one's suspending the law for me. If I break the law, I'm held accountable. So why should it be suspended for them? What makes them special? I think that will be the calculation that most Americans make, and that's why mass deportations are actually have popular, widespread mass appeal and approval on both sides of the aisle. And I don't think that's going to. I think there are a lot of people that think, well, that's going to change once they start actually doing it, and we have these visuals, these very upsetting visuals. Like I said, why would the visuals be upsetting? I think they'll be wonderful visuals. Because they are visuals of the law being enforced and our national sovereignty being restored.
This is definitely a mic drop moment for Walsh's supporters, but a cringe-worthy line for critics. Walsh embraces the controversy fully here, even celebrating the enforcement optics. Whether you agree or not, he's doubling down on the argument that rule of law isn't optional. It's a gutsy stance, but one that ensures he's alienating anyone even remotely on the fence.
I can't wait to see it.
Walsh's unapologetic takedown of immigration critics and his full-throated support for mass deportations makes this a fiery segment. He exposes plenty of double standards and logical inconsistencies from his opposition, while leaving no room for middle ground. Whether you love or hate him, Walsh's ability to rile up the debate is unmatched.